DonInLondon, good morning. It's November the 22nd, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance was alcohol, would still be alcohol if I were to go back to it, and one day at a time I try not to. And then my behaviour would also be addictive, workaholic, relationshipaholic, starting them, never sure if I was right, and anything to take the edge off me, to fill the gap inside, the worry, the concern, the fears, and try and find some confidence, self-assurance, to make life work, or live life so it works for me. So my objective really is to live life, and hopefully life works on a daily basis, and it can be full of good things and not so good things, as life affords, as things turn up in what happens in a day. So addicted to alcohol, and now sober one day at a time. And I always emphasise one day at a time, because that's the time frame I seem to be able to live in and make better choices. So recovery for me is always one day long, and then I start again. So each day the scorecard is probably set to 0 for me, emotionally, spiritually and physically, and then see how I get on. And it is about progress and not perfection for me. So what keeps me on track, or in the moment, and living to the best that life can be? Well, simply family, community and professionals kept me alive long enough to get the message that I could not beat my addiction on my own, and that was my moment of clarity. And in recovery from addiction on a daily basis, friends, family, community, professionals help me, and a fellowship, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's a fellowship I don't speak for, but I share a lot about it, simply because it helps me make sense of my life and live it. So AA, Anonymous, anonymity affords the sanctuary to find our truth, and then share experience, strength and hope where we feel it's most appropriate. So a fellowship full of unique, authentic people who can speak for themselves where they choose, and I choose to share it, simply because I'm a fan of AA and it's saved my life, as well as everybody else. So the gift for me is to be in fellowship, to lean on fellowship, not lean on one person or maybe a few close people all the time, because it's too much of a burden. And if my mind would wander backwards into the problem of addiction, leaning on just a few people would be overwhelming for them. So these days I rely on fellowship, and 12 steps of action and 12 traditions. And I share the statement of intent, or the AA preamble, shared at every meeting of AA, because it slows me into the moment of now and really explains what it's all about for me. And this is the AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And the two key themes in there for me: the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, one day at a time. And our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So on the one hand, a desire to stop drinking, and on the other, primary purpose to stay sober. So in order to keep stopped, I utilise the toolkit that AA provides, that's literature, and the 12 steps of action to change my attitude and behaviour on a daily basis. And the reason why I do it on a daily basis, I can forget so easily what keeps me emotionally, spiritually and physically as well as one can be. Progress and not perfection, and never perfection. So 12 steps of action, all the 12 steps work in one day, and once we know what they are, we have an opportunity to put them into practice. And this month, November, is all about step 11 in the literature which I share from the Daily Reflections, this one. And step 11 is all about sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God, the God of your understanding, not mine, as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. And really what it is a right sizing exercise, so that I'm no bigger, no smaller than any other individual on the planet, and that there are powers greater than us. And one of them is AA for me, a power greater than me, full of wisdom, experience, strength and hope. So when I share from the literature, it's part of the toolkit. And prayer and meditation for me, there are some simple prayers which work for me. Thy will be done, rather than my self-will and self-obsession run riot. So it's about the good of good living, rather than what I think is right for me. And often what I think is right for me is not. I need some guidance, so I lean on fellowship, and I don't lean on just one or two people. And I stress that because it's very easy to become dependent on a few people when we need a lot of people to keep on influencing our outlook on life. So in Daily Reflections for today, November 22nd, it says about only two sins. There are only two sins. The first is to interfere with the growth of another human being, and the second is to interfere with one's own growth, which can be self-will run riot or obsessive behaviour like addiction. Happiness is such an elusive state. How often do my prayers for others involve hidden prayers for my own agenda? How often is my search for happiness a boulder in the path of growth for another or even myself? Seeking growth through humility and acceptance brings things that appear to be anything but good, wholesome and vital. Yet in looking back I can see that pain, struggles and setbacks have all contributed eventually to serenity through growth in the programme and growth in my living. I ask my higher power to help me not cause another's lack of growth today, or my own. So in other words, it's very easy to impede the progress of another person simply by enabling them to keep on doing things which are not helpful to them. And the same applies to me. If I don't look at my own behaviour, my own attitudes on a daily basis, then they can go horribly wrong very, very quickly. Or I go back into a learning state of pain. And there are two other steps which feel very pertinent today. I mentioned them on my Facebook. And that's step 6, which is about defects of character. That's doing too much of the wrong thing in terms of fear, brave facing and ego for me. So it's very easy for me to go into a reaction mode when I'm feeling under threat for some reason. And that's fear, putting on a brave face and covering everything up with my ego. So when people ask me, how am I say I'm okay, or I'm fine, when I'm not. So that's step 6. And then step 7, shortcomings, not enough of maybe courage, faith and confidence to meet what is going to happen today. So my reactions can be fear and brave facing, or my responses can be courage, faith and confidence. And it's all about learning and not being perfect. So the absolute gift is we just get a glimpse of how we can be reacting or responding, and if we do an analysis, which is the fearless moral inventory or the daily inventory, what's working and what's not working, any time of day, we get a chance to look at what we're doing and maybe improve our outlook and our attitude and our behaviour. 12 simple steps, and they do come into practice every single day. So for me it's Sunday, lunch with my sister and my mother, and a meeting tonight, and all good. And the Serenity Prayer, which is the one I use all the time, and it works for me because it's about acceptance of life as is. And that Serenity Prayer is to God or to good conscience, and always to the God of your understanding or your higher power. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. For me is simply just for today.